Brought to you by Hug House Productions.
Will here with another podcast I think you're gonna love. Mother, She Wrote is a multi-genre podcast all about beloved, moving, and deeply influential game Earthbound, or Mother as it's called in Japan. Blending audio drama and nonfiction deep dive, Mother, She Wrote doesn't just look into the themes and craft of the game, it puts you right into the mood and feel of the game. Here's the trailer, and you can find the podcast in our show notes or at mothershewrote.earth.
It happened in the quiet town of Podunk, an ages-old family mystery.
What happened with Great Grandpa? Why won't you talk about it?
Because there's nothing to say, Ninten.
Begets an unprecedented paranormal event.
Help, brother!
Poltergeists.
My lamp attacked me. It was hovering in the air. It unplugged itself and came at me.
Mind control.
Why is that crow smoking a cigarette?
Okay, we're playing inside today.
Zombies.
I could have gotten out of here on my own.
You were hiding in a coffin.
It was a good disguise.
Extraterrestrials.
You've seen them too? I've been observing them for days.
I beat up aliens with my baseball bat.
Children with psychokinetic powers.
I let that little light of mine shine, Mama, and it melted the darkness away.
And that's just the beginning.
Introducing Mother, She Wrote, a travelogue diary through the biggest cult phenomena in video game history, the Mother series, as it's called in Japan, and Earthbound, as it's called everywhere else.
Each episode, we recount the story through immersive audio drama as it's lived by the characters, unpacking the surreal adventures, tear-jerking moments, and what it all means.
If you're new to the series, we'll take you beyond the controller and into the story.
And if you're a longtime fan, relive these tales like never before and learn fascinating new facts about your favorite games.
Find Mother, She Wrote on your favorite podcast player and at mothershewrote.earth.
Welcome to How to Act Fereldan, your audio field guide to all things Dragon Age. My name is Will, I'm one of your hosts, and today my Dragon Age is 24. Yeah. The end.
That's the whole podcast. The end.
Great episode, guys. This transcript's gonna be easy peasy.
Hi, I'm Giancarlo, the other one. And today, not the other Giancarlo, the other one. You know what I mean.
Yep.
And today, my take pi,
Yeah.
and then just get rid of the decimal, and that's my Dragon Age today.
What about like the dough and the fillings?
You know what? Just crust. Just
Okay,
crust.
just crust.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Well, you're the other one. I guess I'm not here anymore. So
No, you're the other Giancarlo.
Oh, I'm the other Giancarlo. Okay. I'm Anne, the other Giancarlo, and
No, you're and the Giancarlo, and then I'm Giancarlo, the other Giancarlo. You know?
Oh, okay,
Right.
got it.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so I'm Anne, the Giancarlo, and
go.
my Dragon Age is 5 today.
Aw.
Yeah.
I just pictured like a little dragon in like a diaper.
Perfect. Oh my god.
I don't think 5-year-olds wear diapers.
I don't
Oh
either.
yeah, to me, all kids are babies.
Yeah, same.
Fair.
This is Hug House's podcast where we talk about Dragon Age, and it's a good time. And this week we're talking about dwarves, but first, should we go into some news?
I think
Yeah.
so. I think we should preface that since our last recording, it has been like a month and a half because our schedules are hell.
Yeah.
Despite
And-
that, not a lot of news.
Yeah, it's been really dry out there, which makes sense because we're never going to get this fucking game. So we've got some sort of like Dragon Age adjacent news, and then like a fun little writerly opinion piece that I want to talk about and I think will be relevant. So First things first, David Gator is working on another game. He has been for a while. It's called Stray Gods. It is by his new studio, Summerfall Studios. This this apparently was released in 2019, and reading that made me feel like my head was going to explode, like that scene in Scanners, because I swear to God, this was announced like 5 million years ago.
Wait, what was released in 2019?
Announced. Sorry,
Oh,
not released. Announced.
Okay, yeah, I was
I'm
I was
pretty sure
confused.
the announcement is that it's being delayed.
Yeah, they released the announcement. So it's being delayed. Which sure.
What isn't?
Yeah. And then also David Gator went on to kind of like half discuss the not the genre, but like the format of the game in a Twitter thread. He said that it's not quite an RPG and it's not quite a visual novel. When this was first announced, I know that it had like a ton of buzz around it. It is like, if I'm remembering correctly, it is like a musical and the characters are the Greek pantheon. It was announced in 2019, which was just a few years after Dream Daddy was released. And I remember them talking about like, yeah, it's going to be like Dream Daddy, but a musical and gods. And now David Gator is like, well, it's like an RPG, but it's like a visual novel, but it's not quite. Which to me, yeah, sounds like Dream Daddy. I don't know why they're not just talking about it like this again. Very weird.
I had never heard about this, but it seems like the perfect kind of game that is just going to take the next generation of unbearable musical theater kids just by storm. And I say this as one of them.
Totally.
So
It's inspired by the Once More with Feeling episode of Buffy. Like, how could it not summon every insufferable theater kid, which is us?
Yes. Yeah. Let's be real. Anne and I have seen musicals together. We were going to record this episode of this podcast last night, and we couldn't because I had tickets to go see the screening of like the Met's Akhenaten, the opera by Philip Glass. None of us are free. Like, no, we are all this kind of insufferable.
100%.
Next in news, there is a BioWare writer, not a Dragon Age writer, but, you know, we like to talk about BioWare news in general here, and y'all should know by now that Giancarlo and I, we love ourselves some Mass Effect. And
who would know? Me? No.
So a writer who's worked on Mass Effect Anthem and Star Wars The Old Republic, Jay Watamaniak, hope I'm pronouncing that right, has left BioWare. It's been 21 years that he's been there.
Lordy.
Unreal.
That doesn't happen anymore.
No, it doesn't happen. Well, I mean, it doesn't happen anymore because now everybody who works on a game is a contracted employee who's like not a real employee, and they just get cut once a game is done. That's a whole other conversation. Yeah. But also, like, can you imagine working 21 years at BioWare specifically? I'm so scared.
What a journey that must have been.
Yeah.
I keep trying to read his Twitter thread about leaving. Oh, I'm sorry. His X thread, even though it's still twitter.com.
Yeah.
But I can't, it'll only show me the first tweet in the thread, and I can't see any of the replies to it.
I guess you better pay Elon Musk some money. Don't do that. Nobody do that.
No, nobody do that.
No, don't pay Elmo.
So I guess we'll never know.
This article that we have, we're gonna like link in the show notes, is from Tweaktown, which is already just an insane name for a publication. And also at the end, and this is not the first that we've used from them, at the end of this article, and similar articles, they just have a list of noteworthy BioWare departures, and it's this long-ass list going back to like 2016 of just people who have left BioWare, and I don't know, something about that is like, on one hand, really funny, and on the other hand, like, don't kick them while they're down, guys.
The presentation of it is just weirdly morbid to me.
It's so morbid. It's so morbid. It's like an obituary. It's also like, I'm sorry, writers and editors, but this is, y'all did not do a good job here. It's like really messy. The information does not look visually consistent. It's like not quite organized by date. It's like almost organized by date. Come on, guys.
It is very funny, though.
It is really funny.
Like A+. Formatting, bad.
Yeah.
Including it, very good. Very good choice.
Very funny. It is also, like, pretty convenient, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
So last piece, we have another piece by Game Rant. And, man, Game Rant really churns them out to the point where, like, so I have a Google alert set up for Dragon Age, and I get pinged for it, like, several times a day. 50% of that is, like, Google thinking that Dragon Quest, which I think is another game. Yeah, so I keep getting pinged about that, and I'm like, girl, that's not what I said. But then the other 50% is like all Game Rant. Really hope they are compensating their freelancers fairly, and if they are, how? But this is a piece by Daniel D'Angelo. It is headlined, Dragon Age Dreadwolf should emphasize the series' horror elements. And essentially, the piece goes on to discuss that, and it touches on horror in the Dragon Age setting. I agree with this piece. I thought it was good. We'll link it in the show notes. And with that, let's talk about Brood Mommy, yeah?
Yeah. What's up, Brood Mommy?
Don't say that. I regret this whole thing.
Wait, also, real quick before we go in, because I'm talking about horror and Anna's here, Anne, could you tell the story of that one time to Giancarlo and also the patrons who get the extendos? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Okay, so
Giancarlo, you are currently playing Dragon Age Origins. We are following along with your playthrough, which people can also literally real-time follow along with at twitch.tv/Whimsic Productions.
Yeah.
To my knowledge, you got through Orzammar, yeah?
Yes.
Get us caught up.
Just in time. Orzammar ended up being a longer quest than I thought it would be.
Oh yeah, she's big.
I feel like I worked through like Mage's Tower and all of that like relatively quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was expecting like similar lengths. I was surprised to see like the amount of like threads that I had to wrap up, and also the amount of emotional turmoil I had to go through playing this quest. Because oh boy, was it painful on multiple levels. Me being a dwarf, being from Orzammar, this felt like the biggest deal. And so it was also one of the questions I had as I was going through it. I was like, I wonder what this is like for someone who did not do a start in Orzammar, like how much the quest changes. But to give you guys like basic rundown, we need to go get support from Orzammar, as we've had to do with a number of other people. So we show up and we're like, hey, I'm a Grey Warden. And they go, oh yeah, look at the brand on your face. I remember you. You killed a bunch of people and forcibly left. And I was like, yep, that's me. I'm cool now. You have to respect me. And they were like, I'm not so sure about that, Chief. Dwarves can be mean, man. That's all, like...
Yeah.
They can be pretty mean. But anyway, so we show up. Some people are respecting me. And basically, Orzammar is like on the verge of a civil war because the king has died and his son wants to claim the throne. But his advisor says that literally his last words were, whatever you do not let my son take the throne. Please, you take it instead. But it's all fucking hearsay. And I don't like it.
Yeah.
Because it's hard.
Yeah.
you go to the council and like everyone has different opinions and you go talk to people and I'm like, you know what? Nepotism bad. This guy kind of sounds like bad news. I talked to a noble in the tavern and he said that the king's former advisor was for like like maybe potentially reforming the really terrible caste system in Orzammar. So I'm like, cool, I think my decision is pretty made. But guess what? Because I'm a fucking dwarf from fucking Orzammar, like a casteless, and my sister basically gets pimped to the king's son, which is like awful, and has born his child who could ascend to the throne. And I'm trying to talk to her to be like, hey, is he treating you good? Like for real? Like what's up? But obviously it's a fucking video game, so I can only pick so many dialogue choices. And basically, anytime I imply that I don't feel well about this guy taking the throne, she gets mad at me. So in my head, I'm kind of like, I just like gut feeling, I'm getting the heebie-jeebies. I don't like Balin, which is the king's son. I think I want to go the other way, and maybe if we do that, like life won't be so difficult for my sister and her child and everyone in Orzammar. However, I don't necessarily know that that's the case. And then part of my brain is like, am I kind of just being an asshole assuming I know everything? Like, my sister's here. I should take my sister at her word, right? Like, if I trust anyone, it's probably her. So it was a really hard decision, and I didn't like it.
Yeah.
Basically, I decide after much debating, I go, you know what? My sister's like one of two people that were ever good to me here in Orzammar before I left. I'm going to trust my sister, and I'm going to, unless I find a really compelling reason not to. So I decide, okay, I'm going to help Balin take the throne. He's sending me on all these little errand boy quests. I don't love them, whatever. I'm talking to my council members. I'm out here doing the swing thing. I'm getting votes. I'm doing all of that. However, then I bump into my good buddy who's, let's be real, Lethe. There we go. Lethe.
Oh. Whoa.
My buddy who helped me escape and basically the only reason I'm still alive and I'm now a Grey Warden. And I was like, oh, great. I've been dying to find this guy. And I'm like, what's up? And he was like, oh, man. You remember that dwarf lady that tried to... I'm trying to remember her name right now. I really struggle with the names.
That's fine. That's fine.
I was going to say Carlia, but that's Skyrim. Anyways, he was like, mob boss lady, you remember she tried to kill us? And I was like, yeah, man, what's up? And he was like, dude, she's gotten so much worse. Life is terrible for the castless out here. And I think I want to, we got to do something about her. And I was like, okay, not what I came to do, but for you, homie, I got you. Let's kill her. Come on. We got
Hell
this.
Yeah.
It's a trap and dude betrays me.
Oh no.
Really? I've never played this quest. That blows.
Dude has taken to her bed.
Boo.
So basically I go and I'm fighting a bunch of mercenaries that get sent to kill me that tell me, someone lets me know. I think he tells me that there's a trap in the room that someone's going to try to kill me. And I go, okay. I go in, I start fighting. And then he's like, oh, stop, please. I've had enough. And I'm like, all right, what's up? And I interrogate him. And he was like, he basically says, oh, Lethe's the one that told us to be here to set the trap for you. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, they're a thing now. And he wants you dead. And I was like, there's no way that's right. Get out of here, you scamp. Because I was like, okay, I'll take the information. Go live. Don't let me see your face again. I didn't kill him because I'm a nice guy like that. They get out. I do I kill 20 million enemies as I go through a cavern. And then finally I show up and I see Lethe or whatever. Lethos. I don't know. That guy.
Yeah, the guy.
Both him and the lady. And she's like, oh, here you are. And I was like, what's going on here? And she's like, we're a thing now. And I was like, no, what did you say to him to get him to turn on me? I don't believe it. And you have dialogue options that are basically like, oh, I'm going to kill him now. Or, oh, you're both going to die. Or I don't believe that you would turn on me. Something's not right here. So that gave me hope. That gave me real hope that I'm like, oh, if I kill her first, then maybe he will talk to me afterwards. But because of the way Dragon Age works, where enemies are just running around doing whatever they want, the NPCs don't listen to me half the time, even when I give them direct orders, there was literally no way for me to survive that fight without him just being killed at some point in the process.
Yeah.
So that's basically just the end of the storyline. I'm like, I intended to look it up afterwards. I haven't looked it up if there was some like secret reason or way to like get my buddy back, but as far as Oman's playthrough stands, he just betrayed him and we had to kill him, and it really bummed me the fuck out.
Very tragic, genuinely. That's really sad.
So, after that terrible heartbreak, in Orzammar, there are these things called paragons, which are basically people who ascend to the status of ancestor while still alive. People who achieve really great things. And so you hear about two. You hear about Branka, and you hear about starts with a C. I forgot his name right now. Kedemir, something like that.
Ketamine?
Not ketamine.
I'm pretty sure his name is
I don't think that's what it is.
All right, we'll call him ketamine for the purposes of moving forward.
We got it.
So you hear about Branka and you hear about ketamine. Ketamine forged an anvil that lets people make golems. And there used to be a bunch of other, like, because right now you have Orzammar that is in the oh my god, what the cities are called, the holds, basically Orzammar is one of the last remaining dwarf cities, and there used to be a bunch more, but they have fallen to the Darkspawn because the Darkspawn actually all come from like the dark areas beneath the mountain in Orzammar, and then eventually make it to the surface. So they know when the blights are coming is kind of what they get at. So there were these golems here that were these like animated stones that would protect everyone. It'd be great. We're good to go. That gets lost when one of the cities falls, or there's kind of like conflicting reports. You kind of see that supposedly it was like hidden away or whatever. And then you have Branka, who is a paragon who is currently alive, but went into the deep roads to look for this anvil and has been gone for 2 years. So obviously she's toast, right? Except no, because he says, go find her and use her to sway the votes so that I can become king. And it's like, I mean, okay. And he goes, oh, by the way, he's like, oh, do that. But also if she's gone crazy or if she's not going to vote for me, just kill her. Yep. Which I don't love.
Right.
But
not wild about it.
But I'm trusting my sister. So you go to the deep roads, and I run into Branka's husband, and he's like, hey, I want to find my wife. And I'm like, that's convenient. Let's go. For what it's worth, really, really capable guy in combat. Very, very much enjoyed having him in the party.
Yeah.
So we go off together and we go look for her. We go through the deep roads, which I was told would be potentially the worst part of the game. So I was dreading them. Not as bad as I was anticipating.
Okay, cool. That's great.
Yeah, I would say it's on par with the other annoying dungeon crawls that I haven't quite enjoyed. But I found that like I liked a lot of the environmental stuff that went on in it, because eventually you run into like creepy cannibal, and it's like, oh no, I don't like this. And she's just talking while you're walking around caverns, but she's nowhere there. Their favorite thing to do in Orzammar is to have a weird little guy pop out, say something weird, and then run away. So that's what the deep roads is. It's just weird little guys saying stuff and running away.
That's what it's like hanging out with Will.
Thank you. That's actually really not inaccurate at all.
But as you go on, basically we're getting more and more hints that it seems like Branka's alive. And then eventually we run into someone else who is what remains of her house, and she's like, oh yeah, we had to start eating each other. It's like, oh no. And then I'm like, hey, Ogden, my dude, I'm so sorry. We're definitely going to have to kill your wife.
Yeah.
Terrible news. Yeah.
Yeah, we run into Branka finally, and she's definitely like I'm like, okay, I don't know that you're fully here. Like, she's coherent,
Mm-hmm.
but definitely obsessed with finding this anvil. So we're going into like, like magic obsessive ring territory here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So we're going on. She's kind of just chilling while I can't even tell you how many enemies come out. It's like a little wave section.
Mm-hmm.
But you get through it. You go, okay, we think the anvil's this way. We make it to the anvil. Guess what? Ketamine's alive. Ketamine is alive and well. Probably not well. But guess what? He's a golem. And the reason that he has hidden the anvil away is because he couldn't just create life. Yeah, he could create really cool stone structures, but they had to be alive. And so how did he make them alive? He put people into them.
Sure did.
Right,
Yeah.
of course.
It was dope as hell. Like I loved it.
Yeah.
It was super cool. I love his character design, his voice. He has like, he's got a little bit of that modulator going on. He's like, I have to sequester the whatever. It's great. I loved him. And then of course Bronca's like, hey, I want the anvil. And he's like, hey, I'll do whatever you want. Just destroy the anvil. And honestly, it was a very easy choice. I was like, hey, anvil's got to go. And so, of course, Bronca tries to kill us. And so it's a huge fight that took me quite a few tries to get through. But we get through it. We kill Bronca. Ogden is kind of like, yeah, you're not the woman I married. So I felt less bad about it.
Yeah.
And then he basically comes to you and he's like, what do you want? And so you have a couple of choices, at which I'm surprised. I'm surprised that I decided to be nice about it, because I could say, give me the anvil. Mm-hmm. I could say, I need you to support someone for king, right? Which is the whole reason we came out here in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Or you also have the option to be like, Ogden, she was your wife. You tell him what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt dumb to do, but I said that.
Yeah.
But Ogden was basically like, I'm good, dude. But you need something for the king, right? And I was like, oh, thank God, the quest still works. And so he forges like a pretty metal ass crown using the anvil, which I liked, and then just throws himself into the lava. It was amazing.
Yeah, hell
big
yeah,
fan.
Metal as shit.
Big fan.
Yeah.
So we destroy the anvil. We come back, and I have the crown, and the assembly's there. Honestly, I loved all the dialogue options, like during the big scenes in the Orzammar quest, because they really have you sweating there for a second.
Yeah.
You show up at the assembly, they're voting for the king. The two sides are like conflicting. They're in a tie, and then of course Great Warden shows up, and they're like, "Hey, what's he doing here?" And Balin's like, "Oh, I bet he has something to say, right? Right? You have something to say." And so you can lie, or you can tell the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And just like, I don't know why I was willing to play it so fast and loose with fate in Orzammar. I think it's because I didn't feel particularly confident in any decision. So I was like, you know what? Let's be chaotic bastards here.
Fuck yeah.
So I show up and I'm like, hey, the Paragon was alive. Well, he's not anymore, but he was, and I met him. And they're like, no way, what? We're just supposed to take your word for it? But then people talk about, I think Ogden stands up and he's like, no, yeah, I was there. He saw it. And they're like, oh, okay. What
this guy's a real guy, not just a castless dwarf. We can listen to him.
Exactly. And so then he's like, what did he say? And you have the option to be like, he chose Balin as king and he gave me this crown. I can also say he chose Harrowmont as king and he gave me this crown. So I can still change my mind.
Right.
Or I can say he gave me this crown and told me to give it to whoever I want, which feels like a decision that would not be honored, right? So of course I said that one.
Yeah, of course. They do what they do.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? So we just let this little castless nobody like pick the king? But then Lord Harrowmont, who, I gotta give it to him. He seems pretty honorable, and he's like, well, if a paragon said it, like, I'm gonna respect what he says. And of course, Balin is there, like foaming at the mouth, being like, "Yeah, what'd he say? Who'd he pick? Who do you pick, dog?"
So who'd you pick?
I really want it to be chaotic, but if I'm one thing, I guess I'm loyal to my sister, and so I went with Balin.
That's so fair.
Yeah, and Harrowmont is like, you know what? I am sad, but congratulations. I hope you're a good king. And of course, Balin goes, "Great, fucking die."
Yeah. Yeah.
And
yeah.
I wasn't surprised. I was not surprised, but I was disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
And the game also lets you tell him, be like, "No, he was honorable and he's stepping aside. Show him mercy." I said that. It didn't stop anything, but I said it.
I'm glad you said it.
And so now I feel terrible because I feel like I've doomed Orzammar in some way, but I'm positive I won't see the repercussions until another game. So, I enjoyed it a lot, but I'm not feeling great about it, morally speaking.
That's Dragon Age, baby.
Yeah.
I actually now granted, we know I'm a discomfort media enjoyer, but I do think it's kind of ballsy that they do shit like this. Like there really
I loved it.
is.
I loved it. Yeah.
Right? Like there's no real good way forward. And like, yeah, politics really is like that, huh? Like
Yeah.
I'm a fan.
If just so you know, if you chose Harrowmont, Balin would still be foaming at the mouth and he attacks you and you have to kill him.
Yep.
I would have been okay with that had it not been for my... What happens to my sister? That's my question. If I'd gone with Harrowmont, what happens to my sister?
I don't think that the writers thought that far about a woman.
I mean, we can try to puzzle it out after. I have a whole thing about the casts for our dwarf discussion.
Okay, that's our next fan fiction challenge.
Ooh!
What happens to my sister if Harrowmont becomes king?
I feel like I'm gonna end up writing this fan fiction.
I know. I was just like, wow, that's fascinating. Is there anything else in Orzammar before I ask you about the most important character in the game?
I did run into the most important character in the game. Nugs. There's a side quest to collect nugs.
Okay,
and they're just like
they're not the most important character, but they are really good.
No, I know. That's not. Sorry, I went back to. Is there anything else?
I was like, yeah, I respect this. You're right.
Nugs are the most important character in the Dragon Age universe.
I love them.
Yeah, I enjoyed kind of like a lot of the side conversations you get to do, and I have quite a couple of side quests I have to do now outside of Orzammar that I just haven't wrapped up yet, including the most important character.
Oh yes. Can we talk about her?
Go ahead.
Dagna, my baby. I am biased. I met her first in another game for reasons. I'm not going to tell you when or how or why.
Okay.
But when I got to her dialogue, I was like, did I write this? Like, is this just me? Like, I was so alarmed. The way that she speaks is like so similar to how I speak. I love her. Please tell me all your thoughts on Dagna and what you're going to do with her.
I very much enjoyed Dagna, but I did not get to have extensive interactions with her because I have not left Orzammar yet, so I didn't get to like do that whole quest. But basically, for the listeners at home who may not be familiar, Dagna is a dwarf in Orzammar who you run into who really wants to be a mage, and so gives you something to deliver to the mages college. Which honestly, I was thinking about it the whole time too, because I was like, didn't we just spend like an episode talking about how dwarves can't do magic? So
Yes.
Yeah,
we did.
So that's unfortunate, but basically she's, she gives you that quest. I'm all about it. I'm all about following those dreams. I'm all about stepping outside of your allotted space in this terrible caste system. So I fully support it. I told her I would, but then later when I went to go kill my former bestie, the exit leads you into Dagna's dad's house. Oh. And so Dagna's dad is there and he's like, what are you doing here? But then through the dialogue, you find out that he's Dagna's dad, and he's like, oh man, please convince her to come talk to me. Like, it's foolish, and I just please do what you can to get her to come talk to me. I did go talk to her, I was like, hey, I saw your dad. And then she was like, oh yeah, she's like, please, I like just do the mages thing. Like you kind of have the options to try and persuade her. And I was like, no, dude, I'll deliver your message. You're good. You're good.
Cool.
So yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes from here.
Mhm,
But she was very sweet. I'm very excited to just see where it leads. I hope she can become a mage, because otherwise I'm gonna be very sad.
Well, she does come up in another game. You will see her again eventually, and
Good.
depending on what you do with her, you will learn about her life since. I think that's going to close us out before our mid-roll, and then our conversation about the dwarves.
Woo.
In a world of covert culinary criminal coalitions,
Giancarlo,
oui chef, reformed criminal and celebrity chef Butch Orson,
prepare the brigade.
oui chef, is dragged back into the dark realm of criminal kitchens.
Behind.
When old rivals threaten his life's work,
Corner!
Butch is brought back.
Hot.
No.
For one last cook.
Open Pandora's oven.
Yes, chef.
John Wick meets Hell's Kitchen in Yes Chef, a comedic actual play adventure of kooky culinary combat, refried revenge, and untold gastronomic horrors.
And there is just a very tiny, skinny man dripping in brown black water. And you see this man seems to have just come out of the bathroom. Roll for initiative.
God. John.
And then he comes.
I'm like, what? I'm like, this is a joke. Like, you're kidding. Like, haha. It's so funny. Let's keep playing. Yes, chef. No, he's serious. He's like, roll initiative. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean?
Yes Chef is out now on the Dungeons and Drimbus podcast feed. Butchie, a genuine pleasure to see you.
Anne,
Yeah.
you spearheaded our research this week.
I did.
Talk about the dwarves.
Yep. So I did some research into the dwarves and Orzammar because I figured we can't talk about the dwarves without talking about Orzammar. They're connected.
Yeah.
So I kind of touched on dwarves a little bit in the magic episode because and we talked about it in the first part where they can't enter the Fade. They can't be mages. We know this. They can't be mages. It's the boring option. Whatever. But they do have a few like special powers, kind of. One of them is stone sense, which is like a talent for subterranean navigation, and it comes from the stone.
That's very cool. Very Hades Town Broadway Orpheus.
Ooh.
Yeah. It would be cool. If they implemented it anywhere in the game.
Yeah, wait,
at all. You can play a dwarf in 2 of the games. You don't get stone sense. You don't get any benefits from this ability that all dwarves who live underground get. Yeah.
That's such bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you surface dwarves will lose that ability, and if you're a dwarf that's born above ground, you don't have it. They don't say anything about dwarfs who live above ground and move underground. I guess that doesn't happen.
Well, yeah, because I guess you're technically not allowed in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd technically not be allowed in. I mean, everybody else gets into the deep roads and underground, but
True.
Yeah.
Dwarves also have dark vision, and they have hardy constitution and barely get sick. And then a bummer trait that they have is because of their proximity to Darkspawn and the fact that they're constantly being attacked and dying, they have really low fertility rates.
Oh.
So yeah,
We're overpopulated.
I should say, I don't know what it is about me until recently. Okay, so I'm like in general not really a high fantasy person already. I never really gave a shit about dwarves in any media. I've always been an elf person. Something in this last year, probably the insanity and the gender, have made me care much more deeply about dwarves. But I have not gone back to research like anything. So I am gonna also be very new to this shit. And it is already fascinating and very sad.
Yes. I'm gonna skip ahead of my notes because we can talk more about the other stuff in a second. But like on that subject, like because of the way dwarves see themselves as like superior to other races, they don't like ever mate with other with like humans or elves and stuff. That just like doesn't happen. And
my character begs to differ.
Oh, ayo.
Half dwarves with a human parent are shorter than humans, but taller than dwarves. They just kind of average that one out.
Okay.
That usually happens more with surface dwarves because it would just not be popular in Orzammar.
Right.
And then children between dwarves and elves, which is the boring decision here, they just look like dwarves.
Okay.
They don't get pointy. They don't get like any
get
cool
pointy ears. Nothing.
They don't get pointy ears. No, they just look
very
like dwarves.
lithe dwarves.
Yeah, but that's where I would wonder, like, could a half dwarf born above ground, if they're half dwarf, half elf, have magic?
Getting out fucking Punnett Square over here.
Right? Or does it just dwarf just cancel out any magic?
Huh.
You know,
Huh.
it really makes you think.
Makes you think. Makes you think.
Okay, so let's talk about these casts because it's fucked up.
Yeah.
So a cast is a so the reason why the parentage of Giancarlo's sister's baby in the game is so important is because dwarves inherit their caste from their same-sex parent. So like
what?
If what's your sister's name in the game? What's her name?
You know.
What's your character's name again?
Oman.
If Oman's sister,
Woman.
Boo!
Yeah.
Boo!
Yeah.
Man.
I deserve that.
So if Oman's sister has a girl, then she's also going to be casteless. But if she has a boy, then he becomes a noble because of who his father is.
That's absurd. I mean, okay,
Yeah.
everything about a caste system is absurd. Let's just be
Yeah.
clear about that. Okay, continue.
Yeah.
This is very silly. Okay.
Yeah, it's silly and it's fucked up.
Yes. Deeply.
And there's a thing in dwarven society called noble hunters, and they are girl dwarves who go out and like try to get higher caste dwarves to have a baby with them so that they can get into a higher caste.
Good for
Like
you.
my sister, except my sister was forced into it by a crime boss.
Right.
Well, because the crime boss probably wanted in too.
Yeah.
Because the whole family goes, and you're probably like, yeah, this was my niece, and I get to live with her for sure. Some bullshit
Yeah.
excuse.
Yeah.
The other ways to move up in society are to become a paragon.
Mhm.
Because apparently the word of a paragon surpasses in weight even the word of a king, even if the former's title does not grant official power. So you don't get any power by being a paragon, but paragons are seen as cooler than everybody else. So they basically get to make the rules. So that's why, like, when you came in and you're like, yeah, Paragon, Branca or whatever, Fereldan.
Fereldan, there it is.
Ketamine.
Ketamine. I was trying to remember ketamine, and the name actually came out.
I could have sworn I was convinced that the game was going to make me a paragon by the end of the quest line, and then I was like, oh, that's right. People who are not dwarves still have to be able to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be cool, though.
It would be cool. That's the one thing I think that you lose by having the, like, really, like, the intricacy of getting to choose your own character and have your own origin and, like, getting all these different options is it means that things that would be narratively really satisfying later on just sort of have to be sacrificed, which is really too bad.
So let's talk about what the casts actually are, because we've talked about, you know, some special things and how to move them, but the casts are, you know, it's really a lot like everybody else. They try to make themselves seem like they're so cool and unique, but really, it makes sense if you think about normal fantasy society. There's the Dusters, which are casteless dwarves and outcasts. You can't work among the higher castes. You can't fight Darkspawn, I guess. I mean, like, if you get attacked by one, I guess you can technically fight a Darkspawn, but you can't officially fight the Darkspawn.
Yeah.
If you leave Orzammar for any reason, you lose your caste and become casteless. If you go to the surface, that's it. So that's the issue with Dagna. If she leaves, she loses her caste, and she can't come back.
Wow.
Well,
that's
there are two exceptions. Becoming a Grey Warden.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you go to be a foreign dignitary to the Tevinter Imperium.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
sure.
They have
okay.
They have like an alliance with Tevinter that's been in place for like thousands of years. So that's seen as something really cool you can do. You just go be a dignitary in Tevinter and sell enchantments and lyrium and stuff, you know, and Tevinter loves lyrium. So...
MUN must be so much fun in Orzammar.
Oh. Yeah.
Above the caste list are servants. They look down on the caste list because of course they do. Then we have the middle caste, which is merchants, mining dwarves, artisans, smiths, which I think Dagna's a smith, right?
I think so.
Yes.
Cool. And then warriors. Smiths sometimes travel with the warriors, but they are not as high in the caste system as warriors. So even within each one, there's just like, we're cooler because we can go fight people. And you just make the swords. But like, well, you'd be nothing without the swords, though.
Yes.
Like, well.
Huh. Oh, I guess also, I mean, I think it's worth pointing out at that point, like, pretty consistently in these games, the dwarves occupy the role of capitalists. Like,
yeah.
Like
guess that
pretty
makes sense.
genuinely, they are a very, like, mercantile focused group of people. The economy is very, very important to them. There is this sort of like, you know, like capitalist, like bootstraps mentality in the dwarves. They have American accents. And then one of the most important dwarves we meet is like wrapped up in some pretty capitalist nonsense.
Wait. I actually have a comment about that, Will.
Yes,
you said
please.
that they have American accents.
Yes.
Early in the development of Dragon Age, they were supposed to have German accents, and then that was scrapped. And now they all speak with varying North American accents.
Yes.
So we're talking about the caste system, and we are at the upper caste.
Okay.
Which is the nobles, obviously. And then the king or queen sit at the top of the hierarchy.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, as we found out, it's not hereditary. So anytime a new ruler is chosen, the royal house can be replaced. So the family who has been living in the royal household, because they're the family of the king or queen that just died, if they don't get somebody from their same family to become the king or queen, they gotta get out.
Yeah.
Wow.
What becomes your... I guess you would just be a noble at that point?
I guess you'd just be a noble, or you'd go back to what the next highest caste of somebody in your family, maybe?
Yeah.
Like,
that would suck.
It would suck. I mean, why do you think Balin was like foaming at the mouth over this?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
And then another fucked up thing about this system, besides all of it, is that the noble houses act as patrons to promising dwarves from other castes. So, like, if a warrior wins honor for himself in battle, and his patron is a noble house, the noble gets honor too, and that elevates them. So basically, they all compete with each other to get the most talented warriors and craftsmen to gain advantage over their other noble rivals. So they all use the lower castes for their benefit. You know,
capitalism,
like everybody else in the world.
Right.
Yep. Just like capitalism.
I will say the most predominant, like, going back to what Will was saying, the most predominant thing when I was talking to people about the election was the economy. It's so true. Like, they were all just talking about the economy. One dude at one tavern was like, "Oh, I like Caramont because he wants to get rid of the caste system, but I think he'd be bad for the economy."
Capitalists.
Oh, Jesus. Oh my god. So that's dwarves. That's, them. They're also responsible for introducing currency, trade, and entertainment to humanity, apparently. Apparently they didn't have that before dwarves.
No entertainment.
And
nobody was streaming
never
anything.
Had it.
And also the common tongue was invented by dwarves. They made it to talk to each other from their different taigs, which are like
taigs. That's what they're called.
Cities, kind of, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
That's
big
very
caves.
Cool. I like that.
They created to talk to each other, and then they were like, "Hey, humans, you should also learn this language because we're all going to know how to do it if you want to trade with us."
Love that.
So humans learned it, and then everybody else, they, like capitalists, and Americans, they made it the language of everywhere. You have to know it in order to communicate with the world now.
Classic.
So dwarves, I guess, are actually the bad guys. They speak with American accents, and they're just the parallel for America.
Yeah, I think the argument could be made that the Darkspawn are like just slightly a bigger threat. The dwarves, an existential threat, a threat to democracy and power structures, etc. The Darkspawn will fucking kill you.
Oh,
the Darkspawn are a red herring.
Somewhere a human in these games is like, the Darkspawn are a dwarf conspiracy.
No! The Darkspawn don't actually exist. Haven't you ever noticed that they come out of the ground where all the dwarves are? Why do you think that is? You gotta think, man. You gotta think.
I'm honestly shocked they haven't gone this route yet. This seems like some shit they would pull.
Yeah.
Well,
jeez. Yeah. I mean, unless you want to know about the history of Orzammar.
I do.
Okay.
So I don't know why I got so excited, but I really did.
Yeah. Well, you don't know a lot about any of the dwarf stuff, I guess.
I love knowing things.
You love knowing things. Did you know Orzammar was not originally the capital of the dwarfs?
Oh! What was?
Yeah. It was another taig called Kal Sharok.
Cool name.
And the destruction of Kal Sharok has a big background. So originally, I don't know how time works in Dragon Age, but in negative 4600 ancient
Sure.
is when elves first made contact with dwarves. And as an additional timeline nonsense thing, the dwarven history in their archives goes back tens of millennia. So I don't know.
Okay.
There's a lot of time. The elves the elves waged war against the dwarves and drove them underground. So dwarves apparently weren't originally underground. When humans came around like 1500 years later, the dwarves worked with them and the elves, and now they're cool, but they formed an alliance with Tevinter that's still in place. Have you ever heard of the Scaled Ones?
No.
Yeah, apparently...
Is that dragon people?
I have
Lizards?
no idea. So the only thing that exists about them is that apparently the dwarves fought a war against an attacking force of Scaled Ones that the dwarves won, and nobody has seen them since.
Oh. Okay.
So I feel like Dreadwolf would maybe be a really cool time for them to bring them back, because they sound sick as hell.
That does sound sick as hell.
I want, like, lizard people, please?
Yeah. I love that. How weird.
right?
What a weird little nugget of lore. I've literally never come across this.
It's like in one codex entry. And that's what it is.
I don't think I've picked up that codex entry yet, because I don't remember reading that.
Yeah,
Wild.
it was like a snippet, one sentence thing. And I was like, tell me more about these guys. And I was like, I don't know. They fought the dwarves and nobody's seen them. Okay, tell me, but please.
Please say more.
So the downfall of the original structure of the Dwarven society started when Tevinter destroyed the place of the elven people, and the elves found temporary shelter in the Kadash Tig, which Kadash comes up later in another game because that's the dwarf you can play in Inquisition.
That's right. I knew that name was familiar. Yeah.
I know. I was reading the notes. I'm like, why do I know that? Why do I know that name? It's because that's the last name of the Dwarven Inquisitor. And to avoid pissing off Tevinter, because that's where the elves took shelter, they just destroyed the whole Tig and everyone in it.
Cool. Sure.
Except
This one does.
Except they didn't, because you can play as a dwarf from that Tig in
You're them.
Inquisition.
Yeah.
Obviously. So at some point right after that, they moved the capital from Kalsharok to Orzammar, which marked a great flourishing of art and commerce and engineering, and then they taxed the hell out of Kalsharok.
Fucking capitalists.
Of course they did.
Of course.
Yeah, and then the Darkspawn came.
What is it? Okay, so here's the thing. The BioWare writers are like almost good at things all the time. They consistently have these races that are like the capitalists. But the problem is that nothing outside of those races is not capitalist. Like
they're all
there's no like anti-capitalist framework of thought in anything. But then they also try to be like, but this race, they're the real capitalists. And it's like, no, everyone is. Like, I get that these people are like exemplifying the iconic hallmarks of capitalism, but capitalism is an ideology. Like,
are the elves? Are the elves in the clear?
Oh,
Dalish,
or are the elves
maybe
also?
Yeah, no, they're clear because they only exchange stuff, right? Because when you go and you do that whole quest line, you can buy stuff from them, but like it's kind of like an exception.
Yeah, that's true.
And he makes a point
true.
of telling you that.
Yeah, it's like they have to engage in commerce to survive because of the oppression and the atrocities.
And that's why nobody likes the elves, because they don't want to engage in capitalism. There's your anti-capitalist society. We've created
there you go.
it.
Boom.
Elves always coming through for me. I love you, the Dalish. It's just very funny that BioWare tries to make commentary by like poking fun at the most stereotypical aspects of something that they want to lightly criticize, but then that ideology that they're criticizing outside of the hyperbole is like inherent in every other thing in the game. Like, come on, guys, think thoughts. Come on. If you're gonna make commentary, think about it hard.
It's hard when you live in capitalism to imagine a life outside of it.
One would say that is the point. Gestures at theory books that I haven't read because my public education wasn't very good.
Yeah, so the Darkspawn came.
Yeah.
And they made the Deep Road super unsafe. The Darkspawn didn't exist before that. You know, everybody was just happy. They could go all around in the caves underground, and there were like some, you know, deep stalkers and nugs hanging around and things, you know, just like chill guys that they were used to, not, you know, brood mommy over here appearing out of nowhere. So that kind of disconnected all the different dwarven communities, and they worked together to end the first blight, but it still screwed everything up and resulted in them all creating separate kingdoms. So they kind of split off. So Orzammar became its own kingdom, and Kalsharok was like, fuck you, you're not taxing us anymore. Revolution, we're going to be our own kingdom now. And then there were a couple other ones that like fell within 10 years, and Kalsharok was considered lost because Orzammar sealed itself off from everyone else. And because they were the most powerful, they screwed everyone over. They were the capital, and they said, fuck you guys, you're on your own. We got this.
Capitalist.
Sorry. Capitalist. Yeah, and then I'll leave it on a note that actually kind of came up in your gameplay. There's a fun theme in dwarven culture of lost and destroyed taigs and people actually not being lost or destroyed. They just kind of like disappear into the deep roads, and people are like, man, yeah, we haven't seen them in a while, I guess they're gone forever. But it's like, no, actually the Paragon's still around. No, actually your wife's still alive, Ogren. You know, like,
the dwarves are so dramatic. The dwarves are those people who, if you don't call them in a week, and they'll send you a text message saying, did you forget about me? Like,
how dare you not respond within 5 minutes? Yeah, they have no object permanence. They're like, they're gone now, I guess.
Girl,
and it turns out Kalsharok actually isn't lost, but they don't really go into anything about it. It's just a separate dwarven settlement. But Orzammar considers it lost.
Okay.
You know, it's like if England went, America, haven't seen them in a while, guess they're gone.
In fairness, that would be really fucking funny.
It would be really, really funny.
Pour one out for that George guy.
Oh, God. So that, I guess, is it for Dwarves Orzammar.
Sounds good.
Which takes us into our fanfiction challenge.
It does. How'd this one go?
This one, it went okay. So this one, I limited my search. It had to have a central theme of lyrium. And for spoiler reasons, in the other two games, I limited my search to only have things about origins. Because I was like, I can't talk about anything in Dragon Age 2 with lyrium. And I can't talk about anything that has to do with Inquisition that has lyrium for sure. So we're just going to limit it to origins. And I actually found a really neat story. It's a side-by-side of young Alistair and young Cullen, the Templar from Kinloch Hold and like the Mage Tower. Taking their vows to become a Grey Warden and a Templar, and like how they're similar and how the characters are like kind of parallels of each other. I just thought it was neat. Yeah, so we'll link that one. I don't usually like to link them because sometimes you give me traumatizing subjects to look up. Yeah. But this one was good, and I liked this one. It's called Vows.
I'm seeing your note next to the next challenge, and I'm so sorry.
Yeah. It's called Vows by Don't Tell Jim on AO3. Yeah.
Yeah, I will read that one. That sounds great.
Yeah. And I did write a note for my next challenge, and I said, please no more dwarves that are going to traumatize me, like from the first challenge. And then in Giancarlo's rap, you guys said, let's find out what happens to your sister if Balin dies. And I'm like, great. So I guess that's what I'm gonna look up, or
we could do something else,
right? I guess, I don't know.
Fuck yeah.
No, it's fine. I'm gonna look this up because now I want to know.
That's really cool. That's a really cool prompt.
Yeah. So that's what I will be doing for the next challenge, finding out what happens to our sister, whose name I don't know. You don't either. Apparently, it's your own sister.
You know, we have so many fun nicknames for each other that I kind of.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Tell me one. What's your favorite nickname for her, please? That isn't
Rock,
Woman.
Rock Muncher.
Whoa. Are you calling your sister a slur?
No.
That is the worst combo of words you could have come up with.
Stone Dancer.
Hey, this is the First Thought, Best Thought podcast.
Sorry, did you say you said stone what?
Dancer.
Oh, Stone Dancer.
Uh-huh. Shall we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
shall we?
for this week's What's That Dragon Age, which, let's be real, everyone's favorite part of the show.
Yeah.
Not the other hour of it. Just
no.
It's like 4 minutes. Yeah.
This very visual piece of this audio experience.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
For this week, What's That Dragon Age, I was tasked with finding the dragon, and I was very excited. And I found a dragon that I'm very excited to show to you, which is linked on this document. However, the disclaimer for today is, do you ever think about something too much and your brain starts to gaslight itself?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've had that link there for, the last, 2 days or whatever. The more and more I thought about it, the more I was like, I feel like we've seen this dragon before, even though it was a novel experience to me when I put it in. So I put a backup dragon. However, my brain has now started to gaslight itself about the backup dragon as well.
I feel this in my soul. If it helps, technically, if we did see these dragons before and now we're seeing them now, they do have a different age.
They will have a different age. I can guarantee you we do not remember what we aged those dragons last time.
So
except the Dragon Ball dragon. That one.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Certainly. Okay, we ready?
So without further ado, What That Dragon Age?
What That Dragon Age?
We have not seen this dragon before.
Thank God!
God.
I've got mine, and you got yours.
Oh, I got him. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna say this dragon is 11.
That's fair. I like it. I see it.
I think he's 2.
Oh, I
see that too. I guess it depends on the dragon aging scale, you know.
He's also ancient at the same time.
Yeah, Giancarlo, how old do you think this dragon is?
If we want to go first thought, best thought.
Yes.
I thought W. I don't know why.
You're right.
It's W. You're right.
Will, would you like to describe this dragon?
So much. I would like to so much. So this is a felt hand puppet dragon. He's colorful and he is precious. So he's got 2 fallope arms. The main part of his body is bright green, like a lime green. On his wings and his belly, he has purple and orange stripes. On the top of his head, he has 2 goofy, wobbly little googly eyes. They're not googly, but they're googly in spirit and in gumption. He's got floppity ears, and very importantly, he's got a big old snoot, and his mouth is open, and he's going bleh, and he has a bright pink tongue and a light pink mouth, and his tongue is split like a snakey.
That was a great description.
Thanks, I love him.
What's his name?
Barble.
Yes.
Barble?
Correct.
Hi, I'm Barble, and I'm 211W.
According to the image link that I'm looking at, his name might be Doofy.
Well, now that we have met Doofy Barble, you can find our show at hughouse.productions. You can find us at @Fereldan on Tumblr. You can find The Dragon Age, our sweet boy, on our Tumblr or our website again, hughouse.productions. You can email us at hughouseproductions@gmail.com for questions, topic requests, fanfic challenges, or dragons to age. And you can watch Giancarlo get really close to the end of the game here at twitch.tv/Whimsic Productions. And until...
I think it's safe to say that by the time this episode comes out, episode 6, he will be on Dragon Age 2.
Oh, yeah. So fair.
Do not jinx it.
You can follow along for wherever he is, and it's gonna be a good time. Until next time, don't take too much ketamine. Bye. I don't think that's it.
Jesus.
But
But
that's
importantly, Will did not say don't take any ketamine.
That's correct.
Oh
my god, no, if we ever want sponsors, I can't say that.
We call him ketamine for the whole episode.
Shit, you're right. Fuck it.